2 lights, 4 different ways. So you've got 2 strobes and you want to start taking more dynamic photos. Well, I'm gonna give you 4 different lighting setups using 2 lights so you can take stunning photos. Hello, my name is Mike Lloyd. I am a professional boudoir photographer in Silicon Valley, California, and I freaking love lighting. There's so many different things that we can do, so many different stories we can tell just by tweaking our lighting. And once you learn the fundamentals behind all of it, then you have an entire world of possibilities available to you. In this particular video, I'm gonna give you different setups using 2 lights. They can be speed lights, they can be strobes, 1 of each. Totally up to you. And one of them is my super secret cheat code setup that I've used whenever I'm in a really small space and I don't even have room to put out softboxes or umbrellas. So that is going to blow your mind when you see what we do at the end. Also, I have another video, 4 different setups using 1 light. So I also recommend checking that out because you can do a ton with 1 light. And this video is kind of, upping your game when it comes to lighting. So let's dive into the images. All right, I did this shoot last weekend and these images are straight out of camera. 0 editing done to them at all because I want you to see exactly what I took. So when you go and recreate these lighting setups, it looks the same. Not after I've gone through and edited and adjusted things. So this is our first setup right here. This is like my classic fashion-inspired portrait lighting. Anytime I'm not shooting boudoir, like this is my go-to setup. And I will show you what I'm doing. Super simple. I have my subject facing, me or turned away or wherever. I have a softbox over here on the left side at 45 degrees from my subject. And I use a big one. It's like 24 by 36. You can use a smaller one if you want. You can use an octabox, an umbrella. It just needs to be a big diffused light source. And then I have a background light, which is one of these reflectors. I think these are 7-inch. They also come in 8.5. It just depends on the brand of lighting you use. And it has a honeycomb grid on it to control the spill. Because I don't want to just bare bulb flash on the background. I want to have more control over it. So you can see this hot spot right behind her is on the dark side of her. And the idea is we're using this on the background strategically to create separation between the subject and the background. If you're like, I have no idea what separation is, it's when you alternate highlights and shadows to distinguish where one thing ends and another thing begins. So if the background was dark, her hair would blend into the background because it's dark. So I threw this spotlight effect on the background. So the shadows in her hair and the shadows that go down her shoulder and arm blend or separate her from the background so they don't blend in. If she was blonde, I might not do that. I don't know. But it's a cool creative effect that you can do. And it just, again, it adds an element of depth to the image. In the other video with the 1 light setups, I don't use this at all. So go back and check out that video if you want to see what it looks like without the background light. But I love this setup because you can have them looking into the light and you can see it carves out the cheekbones. We get shadows underneath the jawline. You can have her turn her head, look directly at the camera and get almost a Rembrandt light effect, a little bit different, but you can still get really cool dynamic light from just this simple setup. And just make sure that you've got your subject far enough away from the background that your main light, your key light, doesn't leave a weird shadow on the background. All right, let's check out setup number 2. This is one of my faves. Like for my headshots, my beauty shots, this is magic. And again, totally unedited, straight out of camera right here. This is called clamshell lighting. And one of the things I teach in the lighting course in the Boudoir Guild, because I have really thorough trainings on all of this stuff at boudoirguild.com in the lighting section, where I walk you through, it's videos of me actually putting the light stands down and talking about why do I raise them up to a certain distance or certain height, how far away should they be, which modifiers to use and why. I go over all of that in there. But one of the cool things about these photos, if you look in somebody's eyes, these are called catch lights. You can see how an image was lit. So you can see that there's one light source down here and one light source up there. That's why it's called clamshell, because you have one light up on top, the other one is down below, and they're angled like a clamshell. And you're shooting through the little gap that's between the two lights. So they're very close together in the way they're positioned, just enough room for me to basically see her and take the photo. So what does that setup look like? It's a little confusing with the lighting diagram like what you see here. But up on top, I have that same 24 by 36 inch softbox you saw in the previous photo. And below, I have a 36 inch octabox. It's on a little mini stand, same lights, same strobes, just different modifiers. And in order to get it low enough to be shining up at her, I use a mini stand. It's not one of my normal full-size light stands. So you could use a reflector underneath, and let me show you why. You can see the jawline carved out right here. There's no shadow under the nose really, underneath and around the eyes. Everything is just beautifully, evenly lit. But there is directionality still. The highlights are on top of the forehead, the cheekbones, the nose, and the shadows are totally filled. And the reason I like to use a strobe on top and a strobe on the bottom versus a strobe on top and a reflector on the bottom, just a shiny white or silver surface, I want to control how much light is bouncing back up. Yes, you can move the reflector away, but it's so much easier for me to just adjust the strength of my lights on my camera, on the trigger, and control it this way, because you don't want too much light coming from the bottom, because then you get weird rim lights on the jaw, on the nose, the tops of the eye sockets. It looks really, really weird. And depending on the outfits, you might have, again, weird rim lights like underneath the breasts or collars, and it's an odd place for highlights to be. Generally, highlights are coming from above and on the outside, not the front and below. Again, in the lighting videos that I do, I demonstrate what all of that looks like. But this is the proper way to do it. So I think it's freaking great. Also, this setup is great if somebody does not have really smooth skin. It's beauty lighting, so it makes all the skin look like porcelain, which is amazing for showing makeup, eyelashes, anything that you're doing like that. I mean, I could sell products with photos like this. I do. This is what I shoot my commercial work with. But if somebody has acne scars, deep pores, if they have more wrinkles on their face, this sort of setup smooths out a lot of that, and it will reduce your editing time. So that's one reason that this is a really powerful way to, get headshots and beauty shots of anybody. All right, let's go to the next one. So this one is super simple. It's two umbrellas. So we'll pull up the diagram here. I have two umbrellas. Now, umbrellas work two ways. You can either shoot through them, or you can turn them and use them like reflectors. So the strobe is actually firing into the umbrella, and then it is bouncing back at my subject. And I have one on each side. So you can see here, just really even lighting all over the room. It's like what they use when they do yearbook photos. It generally looks good on everybody. You can turn her in any direction and you're gonna get the same even lighting. So it's very versatile. There just isn't as much pop to it. It's not as dynamic. It's not as dramatic. I don't care for it usually. I think it's not as dramatic. It's not dramatic enough for my personal taste. But if you're shooting boudoir photography, you like the light and airy look, and you don't have giant windows and a ton of sunlight, this is how you can recreate it. Just using two umbrellas. I think the ones I have on my lights here are 42 inches. I also have the giant parabolic umbrellas, and those are fantastic. If you have two of those throwing light into a room, I mean, the whole thing is lit like you're in a greenhouse. It's pretty darn cool. So if you want the light and airy look, this is one way that you can do it without having sunlight. And the cool thing about it is you can adjust the power level of both of your umbrellas. So in this photo, for example, I have equal power on both sides of the umbrellas. And you can see, again, from the catch lights in her eyes, you can see where the umbrellas are positioned. If we jump back a photo, I turned down the one on camera left. Now it fills shadows, but we still have shadows. So if you look at her face, you can see there's more light on this side, less light over here, but we don't have hard shadows. So I don't know what the difference in power is. I just adjusted it until I liked the way it looked. It's probably going from, the lowest power setting to the second lowest full stop power setting over here. And it's great because, again, we can carve out cheekbones. We can create shadows underneath jaw lines. It gives a little more depth to the image as opposed to this one that is more evenly lit. It's totally personal preference, but it's really easy when you put the lights on separate channels to adjust their power levels differently to get a much more dramatic look. And again, I just placed them at 45 degrees away from the subject. All right, let's move into our last one. And again, this is the super secret cheat code that I told you about. When you don't have room in a space to open up big softboxes and umbrellas. I do this a lot for headshots. If I'm in somebody's office building and I'm doing team photos, and I don't have tall ceilings, or maybe there's a conference desk in the middle of the room that I can't move. I don't have the space to light the way that I really want to. I can still get good lighting. And if we look at this image, we've still got shadow under the jaws. We've still got highlights where we want them. And again, this is totally unedited. I might boost the contrast a little bit, but it's still a fantastic way to light her. And the way that I did this, if we look on this lighting setup, it's super simple. I take take the honeycomb out. It's just a bare silver reflector aimed up at the ceiling. And I do 2 of those. I might aim them toward my subject just a little bit. It depends on the ceiling, what color it is, how tall the ceilings are, what else is in the room. But I just go bare flash bulb against the ceiling, reflect all the light into the room. If I don't have room to put up a big softbox, I will use the walls and my ceiling as my big light source. So that is my super secret cheat code when you need a big soft light source without having soft boxes. I'll pull that photo up again. You can still see there's directionality. We have shadows under the cheekbones. I don't know, it's still good light. It's even light, just like having the umbrellas, a little bit more contrast to it. But there's nothing wrong with that. And again, maybe you throw a reflector underneath if you want to. There's a ton you can do with this without having any soft boxes. So there you go. That is 4 lighting setups using 2 lights. And again, they can be strobes, they can be speed lights, whatever you have, LEDs, anything to recreate these different dynamic looks. And I've got the blog post listed down below from the Boudoir Guild where I walk you through all the equipment that I have. You can see my exact softboxes and strobes, everything that I used to take these photos. And if you're like, cool, where do I put the stands? How high up are they? How far back are they? How do I know if I'm doing it wrong? Check out the lighting course inside the Boudoir Guild, and I have a ton of videos in there where I walk you through what is the difference between a softbox or an octabox, a shoot-through umbrella versus a reflector. I cover everything you could possibly need to know about lighting to start taking gorgeous photos. You are amazing. See you inside.